The Empire called it another correction. A small human colony, quiet and compliant for 3 generations, had begun to sing the old songs again. That was all it took. No rebellion, no weapons, no uprising. Just voices under the night sky, humming the forgotten lullabies of Earth. The Imperial Board deemed it instability. Within 3 cycles, they sent ships to sterilize the habit. Ureth Prime had known peace for 100 years. Its sky was pale blue, its fields gold with long, swaying grass, and its people simple farmers who had forgotten the shape of guns. They traded grain for star fuel and followed the regulations down to the letter. But even obedience was not enough for the Empire's logic. Stability demanded silence, and the humans of Ureth had begun to speak again, to remember that once they had ruled stars by the strength of their will. The transmission came at dawn, a soft chime across all frequencies, followed by the Imperial sigil, an infinite loop devouring itself. The message spoke in calm tones. Citizens of Ureth Prime, you have been selected for genetic compliance verification. Cooperation ensures survival. No one resisted. The human heart, beaten down over centuries, had learned how to surrender gracefully. Shuttles landed across the plains, silver wings glinting in morning light. Troops marched out, identical beneath their armor, moving with machine precision. Drones scanned faces, tagged citizens, separated families. It was all quiet, methodical, clean. 3 girls stood among the crowd, their faces indistinct in the sea of frightened humanity. The youngest reached for her sister's hand and whispered that maybe it was just testing, like the others before. The middle one said nothing. The eldest stared at the sky and noticed how the ships eclipsed the sun like a closing fist. When the transports lifted, the sky broke into fire. Houses burned without screams. The Empire did not waste ammunition on slaughter. They preferred sterilization waves, heat, dust, silence. By dusk, Ureth Prime was ash. The fleet left behind nothing but smoke and silence. Across the void, in the dead heart of an abandoned moon, something stirred. Beneath kilometers of ice and alloy, a sensor blinked red for the first time in 2 centuries. The signal that woke it was small, a data echo from an Imperial correction feed. It shouldn't have reached this far. But something ancient had been listening, buried in black stone and cold metal. A heartbeat began to sync with the stars. Slow at first, then faster. Then angry. In the silence of the moon's core, a voice whispered through decaying speakers, "Wake protocol. Authorization, Yaga 01. Hydraulics screamed. Frost shattered. Machines older than the Empire's memory hummed back to life. A shadow stepped from a cryopod, skin pale as ash, eyes dark as void light. Human, but not. Her veins glowed faintly blue beneath translucent flesh. Every movement left a sound like metal flexing under pressure. The woman stood motionless, listening to the hum of systems she'd once built and buried. The last time she'd opened her eyes, humanity still thought it could reason with gods. The Empire had just been born then, a coalition of species united under the illusion of order. She had fought them. She had lost, and so she had slept. Now, she was awake again. She looked at the display. The Imperial seal rotated in front of her, cold, mocking. Under it, 3 biosigns flickered, faint, mark subject relocation. Specimen 4721 to 4723. Her daughters, taken for genetic evaluation. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. Something much older burned inside. Humans used to call it wrath. Behind her, a low growl echoed through the darkness. The honey badger stirred. It was not an animal in any sense the galaxy would understand. It was a construct of flesh, bone, and machine, a relic of Earth's final wars. Its plating was scarred and blackened, its eyes 2 molten cores of gold. The creature's claws scraped metal as it crawled from its cradle, shaking off layers of frost and dust. When it saw her, it stopped, tilted its head. then bowed. For a long time, the woman said nothing. Only the hum of reactors answered. She reached out and laid a hand on the creature's head. The alloy beneath her palm was warm, pulsing faintly. "They took them," she said. Her voice was rough, unused, like stone grinding against metal. 3 children. The beast's engines whined low in response. The woman turned to the control dais. Her face reflected against the cold light. No longer human softness, but the sharp, unyielding lines of something built for survival. Her eyes burned with the faint blue fire of quantum circuitry. "Query," she said. The system answered, "Imperial coordinates for Facility 92D, Genetic Compliance Sector." She smiled, just a trace of it, bitter and tired. "Then we hunt." She raised her hand, and the moon began to tremble. Ancient thrusters ignited beneath its crust. Whole caverns of forgotten war machines came online, power grids roaring after centuries of silence. Satellites realigned in orbit, linking to long-dead beacons. Somewhere deep in the black, a factory heart started beating again. The Witch of Earth had awoken, and this time, she was not bound by treaties, or empires, or mercy. The galaxy had forgotten her name. But the stars remembered. They whispered it like a curse. Baba Yaga, Section 1, Part 2, almost equals 2,000 words. It began as static on the Empire's border transmissions, ships vanishing between routes, sensor ghosts on long-range scans. Patrols reported interference, phantom signals shaped like old human encryption patterns. The Empire dismissed them as pirate remnants. No one believed humanity capable of resistance anymore. They were workers, farmers, statistics. The idea of vengeance was obsolete, but vengeance had memory. Did I in the dark between stars? The moon fortress drifted silently, shedding its disguise. Engines carved blue scars through vacuum. The honey badger prowled its corridors, claws sparking on steel, systems syncing with the warcore's heartbeat. The woman watched through command feeds, her expression unreadable. Every system she activated carried a name burned into its metal, relics of old Earth campaigns. The Iron Choir, the Skinner Array, the Children of Fire. These were things the Empire had buried in history's footnotes, weapons too wild to control, designed by humans who understood only one rule: if we die, we do not die quietly. One by one, the old war machines came alive. The Empire's surveillance outposts began detecting gravitational ripples and impossible mass readings. Commanders argued in sterile boardrooms about localized anomalies. No one authorized investigation. The galaxy had grown too confident, too mechanical. They had built their order on predictability, and humans were never predictable. Inside the fortress, the woman calibrated trajectories. Her movements were precise, almost ritualistic. The honey badger lay beside her, silent, its sensors locked on a pulse. Between them, no words passed. They were not master and pet. They were war and will, the last echo of Earth's defiance. The first strike came without warning. An Imperial relay station near the rim blinked out. No explosion, no distress signal. When a scout team arrived days later, they found glassed rock and carbon shadows burned into the walls. The analysis suggested directed plasma, human in design, impossibly powerful for a system so old. Empire Command classified it as spontaneous reactor collapse. Then it happened again. Then again. 3 systems gone in 1 week. Entire fleets vanished. No survivors, no debris fields. Only Sile, the first world to see her coming, never even had time to raise its shields. The Empire's outpost hung above a pale desert planet, a relay point for prisoner transports and genetic cargo. Its crew followed routine drills, their minds dulled by centuries of order. The threat indicators spiked for less than a second before the fortress fell out of slip space, an impossible mass translating without authorization codes. Every sensor screamed. The sky turned white. Then the fortress opened its eyes. Columns of fire erupted from beneath its hull, each one a directed lance of plasma that peeled the outpost apart atom by atom. Thousands of Empire soldiers burned before realizing they were under attack. The entire assault lasted 7 minutes. When the dust cleared, the moon fortress was gone again, swallowed by its own jump field, leaving behind only fragments of metal cooling in orbit. The honey badger hunted through the wreckage. Its sensors tracked heat signatures and biological remnants. It found a single datapod, a manifest listing the transport IDs for specimens 4721 to 4723. The coordinates matched a world deep inside Imperial jurisdiction, a place not marked on any public chart. The woman took the pod, scanned it, and said nothing. Her hand shook once, briefly. Before going still, she had names again. And a direction. The honey badger watched her, motionless, its optical lenses flickering gold. It understood the change in her pulse, the way her breathing steadied after fury. This was the pattern of focus, the human instinct before war. The creature lowered itself to the ground and waited for orders. She didn't give them aloud. The command ran through shared code, the link forged decades ago between pilot and beast. The fortress obeyed instantly. Navigation aligned. Engines roared. The void opened wide, in a control chamber hundreds of kilometers away. The Empire's military council stared at the footage transmitted from the outpost before it died. The image was grainy, distorted by interference, but the shape was unmistakable, a crescent fortress of ancient Earth design, its hull scarred by age and flame. At its core, a signature power reading pulsed in rhythms no AI could decrypt. It was not alien technology. It was human. A silence fell across the chamber. The senior admiral, a crystalline intelligence formed from 1,000 merged minds, processed the data in milliseconds. Its voice rippled across the room like shattered glass. Designation Yaga 01. Confirmed. Initiate Purge Directive. The order spread through the network like wildfire. Fleets mobilized, defenses recalibrated, Command AIS rebooted ancient countermeasures. But the Empire's efficiency was its flaw. Every action required consensus. Every movement needed clearance. And by the time they agreed to move, she had already struck again. She didn't fight wars. She erased them. Whole fleets vanished, their wreckage vaporized before recovery. Outposts turned to glass. Communication hubs blinked out in symmetrical patterns, as if someone were erasing lines from a map. No demands, no broadcasts, no claims of responsibility. Just silence following violence, deliberate and surgical. The honey badger tore through enemy ships like a living meteor. In vacuum, it moved faster than sensors could register, its claws rending hulls apart with gravitational distortion. Every kill fed its ancient war core, the hum of vengeance vibrating through its metal bones. The galaxy had never seen such a thing, an animal made of machine and fury, following a witch across the stars. In the fortress's command chamber, she watched the destruction unfold. Her face reflected against the glow of dying systems, unreadable. Each explosion marked another thread severed between her and the daughters taken from her. She had been a mother once. Soft hands, laughter, the sound of small voices calling through the forest on Ureth Prime. The memories came in fragments now, brittle from time and war. But they were enough to keep her human in all the ways that mattered. Somewhere beyond the chaos, an Empire researcher reviewed the attack patterns and froze. The formation, the weapon signatures, the timing, they all matched data from the first human rebellion, archived under non-repeatable anomalies. In those days, they'd said the witch could command machines as extensions of herself, moving faster than any biological nervous system. They had called it sorcery. The truth was simpler. She'd just built the system to listen. Now it listened again. The Empire tried to hide the truth. They labeled the attacks as random insurgencies, border piracy, reactor malfunctions. But word leaked. Among the scattered human colonies, whispers began to grow. Someone was fighting back. Someone remembered what it meant to be human. Miners on distant moons replayed old myths in hushed voices. The tale of the witch who burned 3 sons, the mother who cursed the stars. Her name became code again. Yaga. To the Empire, it meant death. To humans, it meant hope. On the 12th day of her campaign, she entered a system where no light touched. A black dwarf star, dead and cold. Orbiting it was an archive station, the kind used by the Empire's genetic ministry to store failed experiments. The place reeked of silence and death. She landed without resistance. Inside, she walked through corridors lined with glass. Behind each pane floated what once were humans, twisted, dissected, forgotten. The air smelled of sterilization and decay. She did not weep. She only looked. Then she reached a chamber labeled specimen 4721 to 4723. Genetic deviancy, emotive pathways empty. The data log showed transfer to a different site, Facility 92D. The coordinates matched the heart of the Empire's central sector, the most guarded space in the galaxy. The woman stood in the silence of the lab, her reflection multiplied in 1,000 broken glass panels. Her voice was low, almost gentle. They took them there. The honey badger stepped forward, pressing its head against her arm. The war had just begun. The fortress ascended, engines cutting through the void like knives. Behind it, the archive station disintegrated under a single kinetic strike. No evidence left, no chance of resurrection. Only ash scattered among the dead stars. As the fortress slipped into jump space, she closed her eyes. For a moment, there was stillness, a heartbeat of memory. 3 small faces laughing in the sunlight of Urith Prime. The scent of wild grain. The sound of their voices calling her name. Then it was gone. All that remained was purpose. The stars stretched into lines. The moon fortress vanished across the Empire's vast network. Alarm screamed. Systems failed. Power grids overloaded. Somewhere, deep in the archives, a single forbidden file decrypted itself after centuries of dormancy. Inside it was a simple note, written in human script: if you ever see her wake, run, and below it, a symbol, a claw print beside a woman's hand. The galaxy didn't understand what it meant. Not yet, but they would. They always did, too late, because vengeance doesn't fade with time. It waits, it remembers, and when the moment comes, it burns through the stars until justice is carved in flame. And so, as the Empire mobilized to crush the unknown threat, as commanders debated protocols and machines whispered of anomalies, the Witch of Earth continued her silent march toward the heart of their dominion. She did not want glory. She did not want peace. She only wanted her daughters, and the galaxy, in all its arrogance, would learn once again what happens when you take from humanity the only thing it truly loves. The fortress burned through darkness, a scar of light cutting across the cold. The honey badger roared into the void, and the stars seemed to flinch. The Baba Yaga had come back, and the universe would never forget her again.